The guys from BikeNord just sent me this compensator by Darkhorse crankworks, and I'm very keen to see actually what's in the box and actually what this can make to my bike when I have done all that displacement that I'm planning to do on the engine. Welcome to BikeNord, my name is Göran. Today we will talk about compensators. The compensator. Many of you people already know what a compensator is and what it does. Some of you maybe not know what a compensator is and what it does. So today I will talk about the compensator. The compensator is actually the only thing that's smoothing out the engine's movements on a Harley Davidson. You can go several decades back and it looks like the same as here. We have a compensator, a primary chain drive, and we have a clutch basket with a gear that actually the starter connects to rotate the engine, start up the engine, and the engine startups and ignitions and starts turning around. When the engine turning around, this primary chain rotates at the same time, actually in that direction, as the engine. The primary chains always rotate at the same speed as the engine, same RPM, because it's direct connected to this compensator, to the crank shift, into the crank and up to the pistons, through the rods to the pistons, and the engine goes on like this, dish, 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 dish. And every time the ignition goes up and down, there is some movements, quite powerful, on the crankshaft that actually needs to compensate, to save the primary chain, but also to save the connection through the gearbox that's here, and then out to the secondary drive that actually is the belt to your back wheel. This is very important to actually compensate this, because otherwise if you have a rigid solution it will worn out all the products. So some people, when they have problems with the compensator, sometimes it breaks down, then you have to change it. Of course, you can buy a Harley Davidson part, original or stock part, change your compensator, and then you are on the road again. But if you happen to have this problem with the compensator, I actually suggest you to change to a third-party compensator, because there are so many people out there, engineers, companies that have done a lot of better solutions than Harley Davidson has done or may have done so far. Of course, the stock compensator is working, but there are better solutions. Yes, when you do bigger displacement on your engine, for example going big bore like 124, 131 cubic inch, when you change your engine to a bigger displacement, you also want to have more power from the engine on your back wheel. So some people change the compensator to a rigid one. I will explain the difference in just a minute. To a rigid one, and that actually to get as much of the horsepower from the engine to the back wheel, you don't want any loose ends, you don't want any rubber strings, you want everything to be as rigid it can be, to get all that horsepower from the engine out on the back wheel. But this will also give you a bigger worn out on your drive chain, your primary chain, your clutch, your gearbox, your final drive, etc. So this will actually cause you maybe some problems, but if you have a drag bike or you want to go racing real hard, okay, if you take away the compensator and make it rigid, then it's not the compensator anymore. But then you have to be aware that some other pieces in the primary or final drive will actually break down in the end and will not last as long as you normally expect from your bike. But if you are an ordinary rider that wants some extra power, bigger displacement on the engine, you do a stronger clutch, you change your clutch, you do these changes in your engine. You still want the bike to act as it used to be, like a nice big touring bike, but you want all this power, but still you want some smoothness in your ride. Then we have the compensator for you. Give me 2 minutes to actually explain what the compensator is. I mean, this is all in the left side of the bike, in the primary, inside the primary cover. This is what's actually take the power from the engine and put it on the back wheel through the clutch and the gearbox and then to the final drive to the back wheel. Okay, so the compensator, sorry about that. This is actually a primary drive with a compensator from Dynaglide 1996 year model. So this compensator has actually changed in different shapes, but the principle is the same. You have the main bolt that actually screws into the crankshaft. Inside here you have the spring-loaded cover that actually helps the compensator to move. So this is the magic. Here we have the primary drive. All this is connected to the crankshaft. Let's see. Sorry. It's quite good fitment here. Even if this compensator is a little bit worn out, it's still very functional. This is no problem with this one. But what this does actually, it's compensate the movements from the main shaft to the primary drive. So what it does is actually smooth out all these movements. And these movements, it's not only when you pull the throttle or you engage or disengage your clutch, or you go from full speed, very heavy, etc. When you do that, this actually moves to actually compensate together with a spring-loaded cover, so that the primary change actually doesn't have to take all that power and burn out too early and everything in the primary drive. So that's actually what a compensator does. You can learn more about this, more in detail. I'm not a heavy-duty mechanic, but I just try to show you the principle. So this is from the old bike, and the Milwaukee 8 and the newer bikes have the same principle exactly like this, but the drive looks a little bit different and the spring load is a little bit different. So that's about it. Let's put this aside. But to change this old school compensator, even if it's on a brand new 2020 CVO or on a brand new street glide, electric glide, whatever you have, Milwaukee 8. So if you have a Milwaukee 8 and you have problems with this, we have customers that have breakdown 2 of these actually on the dyno bench after they have changed to bigger displacement, and this piece have actually totally cracked out and went to pieces, and that's maybe not okay. You can imagine what happens when you do that on the highway. That's not okay. So we will change. We have a street glide 2018 Milwaukee 8. We will do a bigger displacement on that. We already have done the cam plate, the oil pump. We will do the 124 winter package from S&S, big bore, heavy springs, adjustable push rods, whatever. In this displacement we will put the bigger intake, and the fuel injectors we will change to 5.6 milligrams, I think. I actually don't know yet, but this engine will get so much more power, so we don't want to keep the stock compensator. I've been in contact with a company in the US, Darkhorse crankworks.com. Check their webpage. Manowar is the company. They have done crankcase, flywheels, etc. Many years. They have a lot of experience from this, and they actually have made a specially new compensator that is actually more rigid, because that's what you want. You want more horsepower out on the secondary drive, back to the back wheel and down to the road. So it's more rigid. At the same time, it's doing its compensation as it does. So it's still a compensator. All people in the business that knows what they are talking about, just check around YouTube. They actually say that this is the guys from Manowar just sent me this compensator by Darkhorse Crankworks, and I'm very, very keen to see actually what's in the box and actually what this can make to my bike when I have done all that displacement that I'm planning to do on the engine. So, I know I talk a lot. There is a small installation instruction that actually tells you exactly how to install it and what to do and what not to do in a normal US manner. And you can also read about non-covered items on this instruction. So you got it all here, 1 page or 2 page, 1 piece of paper, very nice. You got that there. You got the Crank Works Darkhorse sticker. The sticker is always nice to have on the toolbox, so I like that. Maybe I find a cap down here as well. I did not. No t-shirt either, no. But what I find was a motor sprocket adapter that you need to have as well. Down here we find the motor sprocket or the compensator, or the motor sprockets together with a compensator, because this is actually one piece ready to go. So you have all these pieces in one piece. Darkhorse motor sprocket is actually one piece. And this is, you can buy this with different teeth. This one here is actually for the Start Milwaukee 8, 2017 to present, and it's 34 teeth on this motor sprocket. Everything is in one piece. Inside here you have rubber bushings that actually make the same kind of compensation that the actually spring-loaded stock compensator does. And this makes it actually more rigid, and that's actually all about it. You can open it up and you can change the inside of this if you want to. I don't recommend that because everything is preloaded, ready to go. Just put it on the bike. You have this piece here for helping out to lubricate everything. So this goes directly on the crankshaft. So, and it's patent, of course, and I'm really looking forward to put these pieces into my street glide this winter. We will not be able to ride it as hard as we want. We have to wait until the spring, but we will do some test runs, and we will probably do some test runs in the dyno bench as well. With that said, thank you very much for tuning in and checking us out. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And until next one, have a really, really nice day. See you. Bye.